recession racket, Musk, Trump, and the billionaires' blueprint for profit. And, you know, in a recent town hall, multi-billionaire, world's richest man, Elon Musk, acknowledged what 23 Nobel Prize-winning economists across the country have predicted, that if Trump is elected and he and Elon undertake their project to gut government spending, it will provoke a severe recession. Musk said, we have to reduce spending to live within our means, and you know that necessarily involves some temporary hardship. Right. But it will ensure long-term prosperity. Most Republican voters are not taking this seriously. They're like, you know, why would Republicans, who, you know, generally are the party of the rich people, why would they want to crash the economy when rich people have all their money invested in the stock market and stuff like that? Why would Republicans ever want to crash the market? Well, the question itself reveals a huge misunderstanding about how rich people get richer and richer and richer. They are uniquely in a position to take advantage of recessions and depressions that hurt people like you and me. I mean, this story is as old as capitalism. Back in the 1930s, Joe Kennedy, Gloria Swanson told me this story. You know, I used to visit her in New York. She would make me dinner in her apartment in New York City. We were both vegetarians, and she was on the board of our children's charity. And just a remarkable woman. And she told me how Joe Kennedy, you know, when the market was at its bottom, Joe Kennedy was buying stock as fast. In fact, he bought a Hollywood studio. He was one of the richest men in America as a result of the Great Depression. J. Paul Getty, his favorite phrase was, buy when everyone else is selling and hold on until everyone else is buying. I mean, the afternoon of the Great Crash, J. Paul, this was, you know, October, what was it, 28th, I think, 1929. J. Paul Getty skipped his parents' golden wedding anniversary celebration to go down to Wall Street to begin buying stocks. He wrote, "It is the opportunity of a lifetime to get oil companies for practically nothing." And as a result of that, he became one of the richest men in America. I mean, this is, you know, recessions help billionaires. They hurt you and me, but they become buying opportunities for billionaires. In 2007, for example, the Bush crash, the stock market, the American economy, home prices collapsed by 21%. Over 10 million Americans lost their homes to predatory bankers like Steve Mnuchin, the foreclosure king, who you know, personally oversaw kicking roughly 30,000 California families out of their homes. The stock market dropped by 50% in the last year of Bush's presidency. On October 9th, 2007, it was at 14,000. By March 5th, 2009, it was at 6,500. And 8 million Americans lost their jobs. They were wiped out. And across the country, Americans who had their money in 401ks in the stock market were liquidating their 401ks, paying that, I think it's a 20% penalty, just to get access to cash to pay their bills because they'd been laid off. And who was buying those stocks? Billionaires. Between 2009, the bottom of the Bush crash, and 2012, when the recovery really began, the top 1% of Americans, just in those 3 years, saw their income grow by over 31%. 95% of all the income gains made during that period of time were the top 1%. If you had invested $1 billion in 2009 in the S&P, it would have become $4.6 billion in just 11 years. And by the way, during those 11 years, the combined wealth of America's billionaires went up by 80%. And then they did it again. The Trump COVID crash of 2020. Once again, the market collapsed, this time under Republican Trump, working people out of work, selling stocks at a loss to pay the mortgage and buy food. But you know, the Dow on March 16th, 2020 suffered its largest single-day crash in its entire history, worse than the Republican Great Depression of the 1920s and 30s. But for the investor class, it was a huge opportunity. The Institute for Policy Studies documents the world's 2,356 billionaires saw their wealth increase by a full 54%. U.S. billionaires saw their net wealth surge by 62%. Average billionaire wealth worldwide increased 27%, all just in this 1 year of 2020. And meanwhile, the billionaires' real taxes have dropped by a full 79% since Reagan came into office in 1981. And so, of course, Elon Musk is saying, yeah, we're gonna cause a recession. And, it'll be a good thing. Well, it will be a good thing for him. So I just wanted to tell you, that's how it works, right? I mean, the billionaires live and operate by different rules than you and me. It's pretty straightforward. Meanwhile, Donald Trump, by the way, Donald Trump is out on bail. Nobody seems to be mentioning this. Donald Trump is out on bail. He's awaiting his sentencing. And, I recall when Judge Merchan said, okay, we'll postpone the sentencing until after the election. And everybody was like, oh, Trump got away with something. Well, if Trump loses, and I think there's a good chance he does, and after the election, Juan Merchan sentences him, and there's no longer the risk that Trump is president, I think he's going to give him prison time. I mean, it'll be a hell of a lot easier for the judge. He won't have all that pressure on him. And, frankly, I think if he was going to impose a jail sentence, or if he was not going to impose a jail sentence, he probably would have sentenced Trump, earlier and just said, okay, you owe $300,000. But if it's going to be a jail term, Merchan said, okay, we'll postpone this until after the election. But anyhow, Donald Trump, the guy who's out on bail, came out yesterday and said it's time to put Liz Cheney in front of a firing squad, essentially. I mean, this is absolutely crazy.